All right, I think we are live. Welcome to this week's Primetime Gaming. I'm your host, Mr. Boomstick XL, and I just want to thank everyone who has been here in the chat. You guys are absolutely amazing, showing up sometimes maybe 30, 40 minutes before the show, talking with one another, making this the coolest chat on YouTube. And tonight, man, we have some panel put together for you. Actually, the panel is so big, we're going to have to tag people out like this is a 6 versus 6 WWF tag team match. But first, I got to get into the introduction so we can get right into, of course, the topics, which is what everyone is here for. And first, we have a gamer whose passion for gameplay over story sets him apart from the rest of the pack. He's an 80 kid who knows a thing or two about pop culture, a Star Wars fan who has an understanding to the reasoning behind the dreaded Empire, but started one of his own, the Sesh Empire. A community member not afraid to ruffle someone's feathers. Please welcome back So Shady.
Thanks, Boom. It's good to be here as always. We've had a couple of hot game announcements that are years in the making, as well as there's some red hot drama in these gaming streets, man. And go figure, it's surrounding an exclusive title. I can't wait to get into this week's topics, man. It's going to be good. Everyone buckle up. Let's do this. Tag me out, Boom.
Yep, you got it, brother. Next, we have a gamer whose undying skills and destiny have no match. And more importantly, no limit. He's our inside man to everything GameStop. He's an incredible father, husband, and one heck of a community member, creator of the amazing Gaming Forte YouTube channel, and an integral part of the Basement Radio Arcade podcast, and the reason why everyone wants to be on his team during the Crucible matches. Please welcome Guardian Forte.
Again, check it. Let's begin.
Nice.
No, man, good to be here. I was racing home to make sure I got here, man. It's I love the topics. Let's get into it.
Well, listen, it's going to be great. Again, it's going to be a heated show for sure. We already have 50 plus people in the chat. Guys, thank you so much. Hit that like button so we can finally figure out how YouTube puts this algorithm together. But let's keep going. Next, we have a gaming hero who has been patiently awaiting the new Batman game so he could once again save Gotham City. A newcomer to the podcast game with the skills of a 20-year veteran, an Xbox enthusiast who bleeds green when you cut him, and the creator of his very own amazing Mixer channel. Please welcome Cybernox.
What's going on, Boom? Thank you for that awesome intro. Chat, what's going on? Today, we're starting off the week with a little bit of controversy, so I can't wait to get into these topics. Let's go, Boom.
Nice. Okay, well, next, we have a Monster Hunter legend who says it's an MMO life for him. A gamer who will save the universe from the clutches of the profound darkness when Phantasy Star Online 2 releases in 2020. An Apex Legend assassin on the level of Agent 47 and an Overwatch player who understands there's no I in team. Please welcome, with strep throat, by the way, Tempest Sun.
What's up, Boom? Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm glad I can make it on time. I had about a 50-foot tall package on my back. I slipped on a piece of rubble, and I just lost it all, man. It was terrible.
Well, at least you didn't get a ladder shoved up your rear. Let's just say that.
Anyway, yeah, it's good to be here, man. I can't wait to talk about this stuff. And we have two really awesome guests on the show, so let's get to it.
Well, listen, next, you know who he is. He doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to give him one hell of a boomstick one nonetheless. You know him as the gamer with the loudest voice in podcasting. He is the creator of the outstanding Crossfire podcast, where the talk is fast and the opinions are fierce. An Italian hardcore gamer that knows a thing or two about pizza, a Mixer streamer rising to the ranks of stardom, and someone who has not paid for a game in the last 24 months. Please welcome my very good friend and the gentleman who's responsible for allowing me to have a voice in this community by letting me on Crossfire, the Mooch.
Buddy, thank you so much. I felt like that was This Is Your Life intro. That was fantastic, buddy. Honestly, you nailed it, man. This is a great opportunity to be on Primetime Gaming with you. And it's been a while since we podcast.
Yes.
And you've got a great panel, great chat already right now. And I know they're all going to kind of shuffle in. And you know what? Like Shady was saying, there's a lot of debate going on your subject. So there's definitely pros and cons to everything. I can't wait to get into it, buddy. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Well, it's great to have you here, my friend. And of course, like I said, I'm always going to be grateful. We talk privately on a regular basis. And if you don't know the story, very quickly, for me personally, I never knew about YouTube. I was what you would call a corporate guy, right? Like I listened to IGN. I paid $30 a month to keep the lights on when Ryan asked for that. I subscribed and supported on Patreon, Colin Moriarty and of course, Greg Miller. I was one of these guys that didn't know about YouTube. And then one day when I got disenchanted with the mainstream media, I found YouTube, and one of the first people I found was Crap and Mooch. And I used to listen to Crossfire, and I simply just sent them a DM. Hey, Mooch, just out of curiosity, is there any chance you let community members on? And he said, yeah, sure. It's something we normally do. When do you want to get on? And we worked it out. And I've had a lot of people tell me in DMs privately that it's amazing that I let people on my show, but it's just my way of paying it forward. Mooch gave me a shot, and when I see people or I get messages from people that want to be on the show, I of course oblige because it's literally the least I can do. So of course, Mooch, thank you so much
it's a great thing you do, Boom. It really is. When somebody has that passion, they reach out to you, and I saw that when you got a hold of me. The first thing you said to me is, I would like to just come on and just test the waters. I got so much to say, and you were so explosive, and you gave a shit. Pardon my French. And I got to be honest with you, that's what really kind of turned me on to the idea that you got to get on the show. Then we just worked out the mechanics, and the rest is history. So it's great that you pay it forward. Thank you, Boom.
Well, thank you, dude. And last and in no way least, we have a community member whose generosity has no equal. Creator of the outstanding Gaming Beyond the Box podcast, a horror movie junkie who appreciates the classics, someone who considers himself to be the gaming mouth of the South, and a huge fan of Rage Against the Machine, who will have a reunion tour in 2020. Please welcome to the podcast, Wilmy Hood.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, I didn't know we were going to get. Did not know we were going to get Butthead in here. What's up, dude? Welcome to the show.
What's happening, man? Thanks for having me on. Just glad to be here on a Monday night because it's just me and my dog. I sent the family away on vacation, so hell, let's do it.
All right. Well, listen, it's great to have you. Finally got a chance to work with you. Seen you in the chat numerous times. Cannot thank you enough for the outstanding and overly generous person that you are. Like your show, really enjoy what you have to say. You're a gamer at heart. And you're not afraid to tell it like it is, and I think that's what I really appreciate about you. But let's get into the community question of the week, and of course, I'm going to start with my guests. Now, this question of the week was submitted by a very, very active member of the Twitter and podcasting community. He's known as Elemental PO, and he asked a fantastic question. And I want to, I'll pose that to everyone. I'll reread it when you guys need to. But I wanted to open up the show with this because I think it's a good one. And this is the question. With all that has happened recently within Sony's gaming division, Sean Layden being let go, closing studios, miscommunication between departments, infrastructure dealings with competitor companies, huge talent leaving to Xbox game studios, and exclusives leaving the platform, what kind of Sony are we going to see in the future? And more importantly, how is that going to affect Xbox, who apparently has a clear focus of what next generation is, what it's going to mean to not only the platform, but their fans? Mooch, I want to go to you first on this. What do you think about this question?
Well, I mean, to answer it shortly, and then we'll get into the longer version, they're probably going to be the same Sony we know today. I mean, think about the PS3 era. They stumbled over their own feet, wrong price point. They didn't have anything really working for them in the beginning part of last generation, and then they kind of just slowly stepped on the gas as we got to the end of the PS3 era, and then the rest is history. I mean, when you look at it, here's the situation, and shout out to the Don, these things, some of these things, and we'll get into it because you can't just say top level. You got to break each one down. When you say it in that long arrangement, it sounds like doom and gloom. But we could do that for Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony.
Sure.
Microsoft just recently lost Mike Ibarra, and Mike Ibarra, to me personally, is a pillar of Xbox, period.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Mike's a very good friend. He was on Crossfire, outstanding guy. That's a huge loss and a great pickup for Blizzard. But, I mean, getting back to your point, I think that when it comes down to it, Boom, these guys right now are the incumbent, right? They're the leader. So when you're the leader, you can take a couple of hits and then see what happens and roll with the punches. These are all things that are happening behind the scenes. Sean Layden, well, we've seen that Andrew House was gone. When Andrew House was gone, did we see Sony drop? No. Sean came in, picked up the slack, off they go. Now, Jim Ryan has been open mouth, insert foot, okay? But the one thing that man has is unbelievable dedication and passion towards his brand. You could see that. Whether you like him or not, that's another conversation. So the guy stepping in has unbelievable passion and dedication towards that brand. So, again, if we go line by line, I want to hear what the rest of the panel has to say. I don't think it's a necessary doom and gloom. And again, I'll say this again. Look at this. Nobody ever likes to make these references, but sports, okay? The New England Patriots, whether you like them or not, they're not my team.
Well, hey, let's
go. That's great.
Baby.
Well, I'm not going to offend them at all. You're going to love this.
Lost, we still the best.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. You're going to love what I got to say. Okay, they're the ones that have the 5 Super Bowl rings or 6 Super Bowl rings. Okay, these guys, all of a sudden, what happens? Your defensive coordinator goes where? To the Lions. Is it doom and gloom? They lost their head coach in defense to the Lions. The offensive coach left a few years back to go and coach what? The Broncos. Oh no, doom and gloom. That's the offense. What's going to happen? What's Tom going to do? You know what he did? He won a Super Bowl.
Sure did.
So my point being is right now you've got you've got Sony as the evil empire, if you want to call it that, and say that they are the leader right now. So when the leader loses a couple of key players, yes, we can definitely break down their losses. But at the end of the day, they're still riding high. You have to actually go and defeat them. So if you're going to say, hey, how do you make a negative into a positive for Xbox? Okay, so you got these guys that aren't there right now. Great. Now you attack, right? While their shields are down. But that's not the Xbox we see these days. And I think we got to kind of jump into that kind of conversation. This is an Xbox that's trying to shake hands and kiss babies. So they want to be everywhere all the time, anywhere. I think that's a great business model. I'm not really arguing that. But when we say, is this doom and gloom for Sony? Boom. In all honesty, at this point in the juncture with 103 million to 50 million, and that's me being gracious, no, I don't think it's doom and gloom. I still think that they have to fill those holes, but I think we've seen with history, they'll do that and move forward. I think, again, it comes down to software.
No, absolutely. And that's a great answer. I think you covered all points. Wilmy Hood, I want to get your opinion on this. The question is, what with everything that has happened recently with Sony, and there's been a lot. Okay, I mean, you take nothing away what they've done this generation. This year is a little bit of a slow year for them. Some of the games that where everyone was expecting to be big time games, they're not. They weren't that. They're popular. They sold well. They just didn't do Sony well. They didn't do the God of War 15 million, Spider-Man 20 million, whatever. Right? Days Gone, slow, methodical. Game didn't get good until after 20 hours. Unacceptable. A few of their other smaller titles, the one where you can build your own world, that went out in a whimper. No one even knew. It launched in an alpha, launched in a beta, came out. No one cared, right? Then they have a new one that came out where I'm not even sure what the name of it is. And then, of course, now we have Death Stranding, which is sitting at an 84 with 86 reviews, that I just checked. And an 84 is a great score. But we're going to get into why an 84 is a shit score according to the extremists. But in your opinion, with everything that has happened with Sony, and there's been a lot of big changes, Wilmy. I mean, like really, really big changes. Do you think, what do you think that the next generation Sony is going to look like? Is it going to be similar to what we've seen so far?
I think they're doing exactly what every major corporation does. They're just doing a restructure. I mean, any corporation does this. They're getting ready for the next generation. They've got guys that are leaving. They're bringing in new talent. I wouldn't be shocked if maybe you see some of these guys at Microsoft. Microsoft, Aaron Greenberg's, came out several times and said, look, we're always looking for new people. We're looking for talent. And that's what I think it just boils down to. I think they're getting prepared for the next generation. I don't think it's doom and gloom by any means.
Okay, well, I mean, I would agree with you there. I don't think it's doom and gloom. I think that they need to steady the ship, but we also got to remember they're still 12 months away from launch, supposedly. Because we're hearing that that it may launch in December, which I don't know if I would do that if I were Sony, but that's a topic for another show. But I definitely agree with you, dude.
Yeah, I mean, 12 months to us may seem like a long time, but I mean, when you're a corporation the size of these guys, I mean, that's just a matter of weeks for them to get prepared. So I think they're just, trying to move people around, try to shift their focus. They've looked, and I know a lot of people, talk trash about Game Pass, but Sony's coming out with their version now. I think they're going to push that forward, and a lot of the digital stuff like Microsoft's been doing. They're getting prepared for the next gen. It's just that simple.
No, absolutely. That's again, another fantastic answer. I want to go to Gaming Forte, but before I get to your Forte, I have to thank Elemental PO, number one, for putting in the question, but he drops two outstanding $5 super chats. The first one, he says, good evening, gamers. Senor Boombastic and the Mooch Maniacs are in the house. Go buy that Elite V2. Yeah, I really want to get my hands on it. I got a funny story. I actually just had my white Elite break. The stick was dragging, and they replaced it for free because it was under warranty. And I just got it back the other day, so it's nice. Good to have that back. And the second $5 super chat says the question is not that. Okay, the question is not that they're doing what every company is doing. It's are they cutting losses? That's a fantastic question. And Forte, I want to go to you with that. He clarifies, and Elemental PO clarifies that the question is Sony currently cutting their losses to make room for big changes before the next generation starts? What are your thoughts on that? Forte, you there, brother? Okay, so
well, you know what? Boom, real quick. I'll just chime in. I'll kind of, me. I hate dead silence, so I'll fill the show up here a bit.
Sure.
Wilmy made a great point, and I think you got to kind of grow on this, and I'll throw this out there, Boom, and then you can go to your next question or your next panel member. Is that what I found more alarming when everybody said, "Oh my God, Sean Layden's leaving"? I'm like, well, wait a minute, Sean Layden's leaving at the end of this generation. We've got 12 months, as Wilmy just said. They're restructuring. They're kind of re-getting their foot, seeing who's going to be the next in line to be the runner or the leader for PS5 moving forward. My bigger concern, and no, everybody forgets about this. Jack Tretton left the minute that they launched the damn thing.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Could you imagine if you're a Navy ship captain? We just leave port, and the captain's like, you know what? Get the helicopter. I'm out. What? What? I'd be like, turn around, go back to the dock. You know what I mean? My whole point is he left the minute the ship was sailing. And we know they were just coming off of a rocky PS3. So that to me was a bit more alarming than here you are, you're the incumbent, you're the leader, and you have your president stepping down at 58 years of age, I might add.
Right.
I mean, that's prime time for him to play golf. Okay, he's about to join the senior PGA tour. Okay, so he's on his way to do his thing. In comes another guy with 12 months to completely look at the manual, see what's going on moving forward, and then you have that leader riding right through the PS5 breakthrough, or release in 2020. So when you look at the two aspects and the two avenues, when I saw Jack Tretton, by the way, Jack Tretton was beloved. Okay, on all sides, everybody loved him. Everybody loved him. So my point being is that when Jack left, I said, holy crap, I thought that was a good sign for, I'm going to sound like devil's advocate here. That was a great sign for Xbox. Wow, I said, you got that's the big dog. He's the one that everybody loves. He's gone, and they still rebounded with Andrew House. So, and Andrew House was no Jack Tretton. So, I mean, let's just, call it what it is. So, I mean, and I know Forte's back right now. I want to hear what Forte's got to say. But I thought that was more alarming, Boom, than Sean Layden stepping down 12 to 14 months prior to the PS5.
No, I agree. And Forte, just want to make sure you're back, brother. Oh, he's still not here.
I thought I heard his microphone.
Mic issues.
Yeah, he might be having mic issues. Cybernox, let me go to you. On this. With everything that's been going on at Sony, and it has been rocky. There is no doubt about it. People leaving, people stepping down. A guy like Sean Layden leaves without a whimper. You still haven't heard from him. He hasn't made a public statement since the very crummy. Oh, it was great to have him. He was a good employee, and we wish him the best of luck. That's all you got from Sony. That was a very cold way. Then obviously you have the delay with The Last of Us 2. It's not been the Sony that we're used to. Do you think that this is cause for concern for the next generation Sony, or are they going to get their shit together?
Well, I've said it here before on the show as well. If we look at all three, like the question, when Elemental Pino asked the question, Nintendo always marches to the beat of their own drum. They're always fine. Their fan base they're always loyal. They'll always support Nintendo no matter what. Xbox already has a direction, a vision, or where they want to go. I think PlayStation is the only one that's on, I wouldn't say shaky waters right now, but it is starting to move a little bit. As soon as I was gonna say Jack Trent, as soon as Sean Layden left, they already had significant changes. What did they do? They dropped the price of PS Now. They added a first party title on PS Now. They lowered the price. What did they do? They threw God of War in there. And now I just think with everything that's going on in there, PS View now is also done, right?
Yes.
Their TV streaming service. So now they're a little bit of not rebranded, but restructuring. And I don't think they really know. I mean, they're going to be fine, right? They're going to be fine no matter what. Kind of like what Mooch alluded to earlier. They're a very oiled machine. They know which way they're going, but right now they just need to figure out which Sony do they want to be, the more traditional Sony that they've always been, or they want to start moving in the way of these service subscriptions.
I think they have to be honest.
Start evolving with what's going on around them. So I think that's more of what they're trying to figure out internally. And I've always said this too. PlayStation is the fault of their own success. They have 100 million PS4s out there right now. Next generation starts next year. The hardcore is gonna buy all the PS5s, but how do you incentivize the casuals to start picking up your new hardware? You know what I mean? So if not all the casuals are gonna pick up the new hardware, they're gonna have to start, coming out with these new subscription services and making it appealing for everyone. So we'll just see what happens. It's kind of like Wilmy Hood too. It's just a corporate restructuring. So we'll see what happens.
No, absolutely. Great point. Real quick, Tempest, before you get your opinion on this, brother, Sir X-Men drops a $2 super chat and he says, really good panel tonight. Boom. Well, thank you so much for that. Thank you for the generosity. And of course, thank you for being here. Tempest Son, for the community question, I thought was very interesting. And, Elemental PO brings up a lot of things that are currently going on with Sony. Now, of course, they will course correct, but it's still news and it's still something to talk about. Do you see any issues with Sony in 2020 because of all of the restructuring and the rockiness of the boat that they're currently on?
That's really hard to say. It's hard to ignore, though, some of the stuff happening. It's the oldest saying ever, where there's smoke, there's fire, right?
Yep.
You just don't know what's going on behind the scenes. That's really the thing. I mean, when Sean Layden supposedly left, that little tweet just explaining it, I mean, that wasn't enough. You have no idea what's going on. The second that guy leaves, we almost got a whole new Sony. I mean, it was last week we were talking about this, like Death Stranding got announced for PC. If that was pre-Sean Layden leaving, that never would have happened, ever. They never would have announced that. It's just a different Sony. So I don't know. I mean, they have 100 million consoles out there, and they did make more than Xbox, but Xbox had no software, and Xbox made almost as much. So they have to be sitting there. They're like, well, if they made that much doing this, with no software, what's going to happen when they finally have that software? What happens when they're going to have, 3 to 5 AAA releases and Game Pass each year? What's going to happen then? And to be honest with you, I think people say Sony's going to be fine. I got news for you. I think they need to do better than fine, because their only profitable division is PlayStation. If they falter there, nothing else is making them money. You know, they don't have Microsoft money. Microsoft, I hate to say it, but they can fail. They can. They're making money elsewhere other than Xbox. Xbox is just one division. PlayStation is just one division as well. But I think
but what's keeping Sony afloat has been the PlayStation division.
Exactly. So they can't afford to screw this up. You know, I mean, they really can't.
Tempest. The thing is you're right, but that's also what drives them to work that much harder. It's the same reason me and you get up tomorrow to an alarm clock, right? Because if we don't go out tomorrow and bust our hump, there's no food on the table.
Yeah, that's
Whereas
true.
With Microsoft, you've got, this lackadaisy. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. We can put it in Game Pass. Play it if you want it. Don't if you don't. And don't get me wrong. They can afford to do that. You've said that, and you're correct. But right. I mean, when people, don't get me wrong, what you've also said has also been relevant the entire generation, because it was the beginning of this generation when Sony sold off all their real estate, got rid of their phones, they got rid of this, they got rid of that. They sold everything off, right? Mm-hmm. So they've literally been going out there and being like, we got to go out there tomorrow and we got to bust our hump to put the food on the table. And they did that in glorious fashion.
I get your point. I really do. But if that was the case, why would they so drastically change their MO?
It's not really drastic, because the one example you gave with Death Stranding is that's not a first-party studio. That was probably a deal that was cut when they shook hands before. There's a lot of these things, and believe me, I've learned this more than anybody. A lot of these deals that go on are all behind the scenes. That doesn't come out. They're not like, Kojima asked so they can go on PC, and he also asked that he can get, this type of, he probably got a Maybach out of the deal that we don't know about too. There's a couple of things. But I'm just saying, we don't know. That's not a first party studio. So it's not apples to apples.
Yeah, but Sony owns the IP to Death Stranding, though.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. They do own the IP, so it's a little bit more like, well, what the heck is going on here? Because you just wouldn't expect it.
Well, but like I said, we're gonna go deep into the way that Kojima is running his studio. He's unhitched, and we're gonna go into why that is, and maybe that Konami is the ones that had him doing what he needed to do and keep on pace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, just to close out my point, it seems rather odd that Sony, like I said, they need PlayStation to work more than anything else, and they're making so many drastic changes. And let's be honest, these are changes that the hardcore Sony fan base said were never going to happen, and they all happened in 1 month. Like literally 1 month, all of this happened.
1 month. It happened in like the next day. Sean Layden stepped out the building. They said, "Oh, 1, 2, and he's out. Go ahead, flip the switch." Just real quick.
Again,
before he comes back.
Same thing happened with Quantum Break, though, right? Everything changed on that one tweet. That was when we found out that Xbox exclusives were gonna go to PC day one.
That's true,
it all happens very quickly. All we're doing is that we're forgetting one was 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
But see, Phil Spencer needed to right the ship. He needed to make drastic changes because it wasn't working. You have a working formula with Sony, or at least we think it's working. Yeah, working formula to stay old school. First party exclusives, screw online games, screw multiplayer games.
Right.
Now all of a sudden,
no cross save, no cross play,
no cross play, none of that stuff. Now all of a sudden, I could have, if I wanted to, I could have subscribed to PlayStation Now, and I could have played God of War on my PC
until January.
Well, until January, I get that,
right.
But still, my point is that is something that never would have happened. So as soon as Sean Layden left, they tried to make it just a different company. Like they have a different MO now. Like literally, it's just changed. Like
that happened. The thing about that's interesting, Tempest, is that you're not wrong, but that's if you're Microsoft, you wanted Sony to stay old and traditional, right? Because they still have the old and traditional set in certain regards, and now they're also catching up and playing with the Joneses and doing what Microsoft's doing. So if I'm Microsoft, I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
Couldn't you have just stayed in your shoes? Like, why are you now jumping into our shoes? This is what so yeah, you're right. But like I said, I think the immediate turnaround you're seeing is also once Phil was in charge and he righted the ship in regards to Xbox One. You saw the drastic changes. You saw Sean Layden leave. I'll play ball with you and say, you know what? Maybe you're right. Those were pretty drastic changes, and they came about all of a sudden. It's just both did it. It's just Microsoft did those changes 2.5 years ago.
Well, let's not forget too, the more successful Sony is at playing the Microsoft game, the more successful Microsoft is. Sony's going to be
well, listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you regardless of what flag you flying, I think everybody in the panel will agree with this. They both need each other. There's no doubt. Sony needs Microsoft, and Microsoft needs Sony.
Absolutely,
because you have to
yang
look. You have,
yang.
Yeah, well, you have to look back to the PS3, right? We saw that they shot themselves in the foot. They had a terrible E3. The real life crab that happened in the turn over the crab and hit it and all those we laugh, right? And Microsoft even with the red ring of death still figure out a way. Now, granted, Sony came roaring back and edged them out for that generation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Sony realized their mistake. And Microsoft was riding high. Somehow or another, the people at Microsoft did not get the memo not to be an a-hole, and they put themselves in a really, really deep, bad position.
Yeah.
And now they're coming back. So they play off each other. Listen, let me tell you something. If you don't think the success of Sony this generation, which has been outstanding, and that is one of the main reasons why Phil Spencer made all these moves for these studios and starting the initiative. It's 100% the reason why.
Yeah, we never would have gotten the most pro-consumer service ever in the face, ever to grace gaming. Period. It's almost so good. People call it too good to be true, and people are like, "Oh, the developers can't be making money. Microsoft can't be making money."
But they're making money
otherwise. Yeah, we never would have gotten that service if I guess they wouldn't have screwed up. So here we are. So. It's interesting.
Well, listen, what we're going to do is this. We're going to Forte had to drop out. He's having some internet problems. We're going to get him back in a second. His mic has been giving him a hard time. So Shady, I know you've been sitting there twiddling your thumbs. I see you in the chat. I know you're chomping at the bit to jump into this particular community question of the week for you. And you're very outspoken, right? You say it like it is, and some people don't like it. And I say tough titty, right? That's if you don't like it, don't listen. But I am going to say this. For the community question, do you think that the rockiness that we have seen with Sony in the last month or so, where there's announcements and then there's delays and there's people stepping down and we're not hearing from them, and people on the other side of the pond stepping away, losing people that are now working at Xbox Game Studios, there's a lot of turnaround at Sony. And I'm not saying that they're doomed. I'm not saying that. I'm asking the question, do you think that this is going to be the same Sony to start next generation?
No, it won't be the same Sony at all. And I believe it was already said, where there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's smoke, there's also Shady hitting some of that delicious greenery up here in Canada. But I think Sony, consumer, selling consoles aside, the consumer perspective aside, your average gamer, your casual, we'll call them, the filthy, disgusting casuals that make up 80% of the gaming world. Those guys, they don't know any of this is happening at all.
Right.
They don't care even if it was. They just want to play video games that their buddy has, that's popular, that gets the, passed around on media, the popular stuff. That's what these casual gamers are into. They're not into the drama. Who's this? They don't even know these people's names. So I don't think they're in trouble as far as that goes. But I think behind the scenes, Sony knows they're in a bit of trouble because the industry is shifting regardless of the success that they have seen with the traditional model. Whether they are ready or not, whether they want to or not, streaming is here. Stadia is launching in a week, 2 weeks at most or something like that. With that platform alone coming in to compete, Sony cannot dominate in the same way they did this gen again. It's not possible because there's another group that's in here that is going to be pulling gamers from everyone. It's going to pull guys from Xbox. It's going to pull dudes from Sony. It might even pull some Nintendo guys away. Depending on what's on offer here, all these other companies, they know what streaming is about as well. They're all doing it. They're all doing it. And they're all looking for avenues to get it done if they can't do it themselves, which is Sony. They can't stream on the level that an Amazon or a Google or a Microsoft can. They don't have the infrastructure. They do not have the money to create the infrastructure. So they went to Microsoft, their biggest competitor, to use Azure. What do you think they're doing with that? Obviously, they'll be streaming their games day and date to any device, just like everyone else's. If that takes off, and you know how I think it's going to, is there's already public testing. People have xCloud in their hands right now. People have been playing Stadia. I don't see the sky is falling videos flying through my feed everywhere on just how garbage it is and it's terrible. Of course, there are videos that are highlighting some issues. I'm inside of a lead bunker 50 feet underground and I'm getting lag. It's like, yeah, well, that's what happens. If you have the necessary bandwidth, if you have the internet that they're looking for, if you have a phone or tablet that's not 10 years old, it works. It just works. Simple as that. So if these games are selling tens of millions more, or let's say hundreds of millions more coming out the gate, you don't think Sony or even Nintendo, the most traditional of them all, is going to want a piece of that pie? Of course they are. So I think Sony, they're in trouble behind the scenes. The industry is shifting. They had to make serious moves. What other massive multi-billion-dollar company have you known ever that comes out and more or less publicly says, we're going to lay low, like 6 feet underground low for over a year? They haven't had zero public face as far as their electronic shows, E3s, stuff like that. They're just like, no, we're not going. We got nothing to show, nothing. They are riding on pure momentum right now of the casuals. That's it. And the diehard zealots that no matter what Sony does, they'll be there. Like, that's what they're riding on, and they know it. Every announcement that they've actually been making via Twitter, which is the new E3 for Sony, but every announcement that they make spits in the face of their own like fanboy zealots narratives. We will never have our games on other platforms. And then we have God of War that coming to PC and stuff. It's there now. Granted, it's timed, but they need to take baby steps. They're aware of these narratives that have been spun up for years. They know they're there, and they know how hardcore these guys, the hardcore Sony fans, have been pushing them. So they're aware when they come out and say, this is what we're going to do, they get riled up and they lose it. I saw some of the most outspoken Sony guys canceling Death Stranding pre-orders and consoles because it's available on PC, and they'll be damned if they're going to buy a non-exclusive. Like, they're in it for the exclusives. They're in it for the brand, not the games, is what this tells me. Sony knows this. They got to be very careful with their messaging. They have at least a year before the next console even drops. They might wait until launch and just be like, oh, yeah, every game is in PlayStation Now, day and date as well. They don't have to do it early. Xbox was in, quote unquote, more trouble. If that means making $10 billion a quarter or whatever the hell it is, Jesus, I wish I could get into the same types of trouble. All these companies are making bank. But obviously, to me, the fact that Sony has disappeared from all these shows for a year, they've had top-level executives leaving and not coming out a week later like Mike Ybarra being like, yo, I left Microsoft because I'm now the vice president of Blizzard. I mean, with all that China controversy aside, if that hadn't happened, that would have been an incredible sounding move. Now he's got a little bit of an uphill battle as far as brand perception is concerned, but that wasn't there at the time. That happened like the week of it. We don't know where Sean Layton is. The man is missing. Put him on a milk carton. My God, like
he might be with John Gotti. I don't know.
It didn't sound amicable at all. And as it was also brought up, within 24 hours of him out the door, they cut the cost of their streaming service and they put some of their biggest selling games available in there on the PC as well. Like, changes are coming at Sony. I think a lot of these guys, they've been there for 20 plus years. They don't like seeing the changes. Sony is bigger and more popular basically today than ever. As far as perception, money making, the PS2 sold more consoles. But I mean, my grandparents had one because it was a first DVD player. First DVD I ever watched was on a PS2, for God's sake. So that's, in my opinion, why that console had the numbers it did. So Sony's at the top of their game. Why not? These guys are all multimillionaires too. Why not leave when you're at the top? You can just be like, I'm going to go retire now. Remember when I was king, ding-a-ling, and saved the entire Sony brand because they were going under. They were staring into the abyss of bankruptcy. And the PlayStation brand literally saved them this generation. It brought their stock from junk level stock, my God, run for the hills, to Get in on this. They're on the up. They're rising. It's been a fantastic comeback. And I'm glad that it was video games that did it and not terrible movies that they churn out. But, man, I don't know. They're not in trouble financially. Most people are creatures of habit. They're going to buy what they had before and what they had before that. That's kind of the way it is. People go to the same grocery store company that they've always gone to, even if they have to drive 20 more miles all of a sudden. It's like, nope, sorry, Safeway for me. I'm not going to Co-op or whatever. I'm using Canadian brands. All you Americans are like, what are you talking about? Sorry. But yeah, people are creatures of habit. I think they're going to be just fine next gen. The industry is definitely changing around them, and they've had to make the moves necessary to change with it. Otherwise, they get left behind. You don't want to be a guy getting into the stream game and stuff like that at the very end. I expect it from Nintendo as well. They're looking for a partner to bring Mario Kart, Smash Bros, all of them to the streaming game. Anyone with any device, you want to buy this, we'll sell it to you. That's where the money is, and it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait. Sony's not in trouble. Front-facing, sales-wise, but behind the scenes, I think they're in a mad dash to just reorganize themselves because they realize that traditional model is extremely limiting in the modern world, and it's has to go and be changed up quick. That's it.
Well,
They're
listen,
not in trouble at all, but I'm so curious to what they're going to launch their PS5 with.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get into that because there's a lot of questions, and of course, I'm hoping that Horizon Zero Dawn 2, the first one's one of my favorites of this generation. I'm gonna tag in Gaming Forte. Are you there, my friend?
I am here, sir.
Excellent. Okay, well, listen, real quick before I get to you, I have to talk about a couple of super chats. First of all, LMNOP drops another one, and he says Microsoft seems to have everyone on board, whereas Sony looks like the team isn't listening to each other. Now, that's a possibility. Sir X-Men drops an outstanding and very generous $2 super chat. He says, Scarlett, just better have my HDMI pass-through. I believe it's going to. I wouldn't worry about that. And now we just have, Sin Vendetta, who's always here in the chat helping us and supporting this amazing channel. So thank you so much for that. And also the outstanding $5 super chat. He says, damn, guys, such a great conversation with such great input from everyone on the panel. I'm loving all of this. Great podcast. Boom. Thank you for that. And, of course, Patrick Morgan with the outstanding and outrageously generous $20 super chat. He says, greeting fellas, taking into account how many studios Microsoft has acquired over the years, which one has you jazzed the most, and what would you like to see from said studio? Thank you for the warm greeting on Twitter. Boom. Oh no, dude, don't even sweat it. Listen, this is I built this this whole channel on from the ground floor up, with the community in mind. And I'll get to that question in a second, dude. Forte, here's my question to you for the community question. With everything that's been going on with Sony, and like I said, everyone has a different opinion on how rocky they have been in the last 6 weeks. Do you think that this is going to be the same Sony that dominated this generation?
No, I think the thing with Sony is I don't think that they're in trouble. I don't think.
Oh, sounds like he cut out. Yeah, he sounds like he cut out.
Forte.
All right, Forte, why don't you jump back out and jump back in? He's been having some internet issues. Sorry about that, folks. So this is what we're gonna do. While he gets his stuff together, he'll come back around and he'll answer that question. Sorry about the technical issues that he's having. I want to go into what is probably going to be a good 40 to 50 minute conversation because there is a lot to talk about. Now, here's the thing. One of the most controversial and highly anticipated games is about to be released in the form of Death Stranding by legendary game director Hideo Kojima. Now, to say there's been a lot of talk on both good and bad would be considered an understatement. Now, normally I have a ton of pre-written material in the form of a show script, which I write for every show that I do. But for today, because I've been following this game so closely, I'm going commando on this one. Woo-hoo. Okay, as a gamer of well over 40 years, I completely understand that every game is not for every gamer. Though I have a two-pronged question for the incredible panel, and of course, the outstanding chat, and my awesome 2 guests. First, is the industry damage controlling Death Stranding because it's a PlayStation 4 title and a Kojima game? And more importantly, based on some of the written reviews, is the gaming industry, quote unquote, afraid to score Death Stranding low because of the possible community backlash? I asked this loaded question because some of the quotes that sit with 90 plus scores have me really scratching my head. Now, before I get into the panel's opinions on this, I want to read some of these quotes that I pulled from, and there's 86 of them, folks. So I didn't read every review. I read about 40 of them. This is the ones that I decided to pick. Here's the first one. Death Stranding is a weird game. I couldn't stop thinking about it while reviewing it. It has plenty of sluggishness, and sometimes I never wanted to play this again. This is coming from, and the website is ZTDG. They scored an 80. So wait a second. You don't want to play this game again, but it's an 80. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Death Stranding is not a fun game, but it's an important and meaningful experience that earns its payoff through every bit of frustration and slog. This amazing review is coming from PlayStation Lifestyle. They score a 95. Okay, let's keep going. Death Stranding is a hard game to absorb. There are many intertwining threads to its plot, its silly names, corny moments, and heavy exposition to otherwise a very simple message. That comes through much more clearly in the game's more mundane moments. From GameSpot, 90 out of 100. Okay, so let's go into some of the things that we've heard on social media. The game is boring. The game's gameplay loop seems frustrating. 15 hours of the gameplay, you'll start to enjoy it. Oh, some of these quotes are from people that gave it 100. Some of them are 95. So, Mooch, I want to go to you first on this, dude.
Mm-hmm.
These quotes are only a handful, and I, of course, could have easily dropped in another dozen of them, but we only have so much time.
Right.
Is this game being judged differently because it's a PlayStation exclusive Kojima game, and or is the industry, meaning the gaming media, afraid to score this game bad because of the backlash from the fans?
Well, I mean, in short, and I'll explain myself, I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. I mean, it just rose to 85 today. It was 84 since last week. Okay, and to be honest with you, here's the thing. I only wrote 2 down. I couldn't keep up with you. Wouldn't want to the folks that gave it an 80 and said wouldn't want to play it again. Now that sounds negative right off the forefront, but let me give you an example in Mooch terms. Okay, so there's Outer Space. I personally don't like Mass Effect. I'm just not a Mass Effect fan. Too much to me personally. The dialogue. It's just I don't want to prompt 75 different small conversations to get a side quest out of a person. You know, I'm shaking my computer screen. I'm like, just give me the quest. Just give me the quest already. I don't want to have to talk to you for a half hour to get a side quest. So I'm like, all right, we get past that. So I understand when somebody would say, okay, I still think Outer Worlds is a good game, but for me, it's in the 80s, mid 80s, because I wouldn't want to play that game again, myself personally. So I get that. The other one you read that was 100 or a 90 was from PlayStation Magazine, which if it's called PlayStation Magazine, it might as well also be called Mrs. Kojima. Okay? It might as well be his wife's review of the goddamn game. So my point being is, listen, there's always those radicals. Even with Gears, you go and look at, there's hundreds and 90s and 95s for Gears 5, right? On the same extremists at the Xbox. These are all equal things. If Kojima's game got a 92, now me and you are dancing a different tune here, Boom. I'm dancing a different tune. Then I'm with you. I'm like, there's something going on here. I mean, this thing had an 84. That's not crazy high. It's not crazy low. The thing about it is this, okay? So, and I just pick on Outer Worlds because it's something that we're all familiar with. We're all either playing it or we've seen it in the news recently. And everyone's like, well, it's like Mass Effect. It's like Borderlands. It's like Fallout in space. Listen, I'm not here to sell you. And the same thing I said on Crossfire, same thing I said on MNC. Okay? I'm not here to sell you on Death Stranding. I could care less if anybody plays it. I'm going to try it. Here's the reason. It's something completely and utterly different. And yes, it's got a 5-hour startup. I mean, listen, Boom, you're a Destiny fan, or you were at one day.
Yes,
okay?
well, I'm still a Destiny
game,
fan.
Right? You are. That game, okay, just in fairness, I mean, anybody would tell a newcomer, listen, you gotta put about 20 hours into that thing if you want to play with us, right? Okay, you got to level up. So in this case, it's not a matter of leveling up. In this case, it's a matter of getting through what he wants you to get through in the story to get to the point where the narrative makes sense. Now, hear me out. There's the RPG stuff where you get his suit built up. I did a little bit of research on this as well over the past week, okay? No spoilers, by the way. Norman Reedus' character, Sam, I believe, you have to level him up. You have to get him better gear so he can get around the terrain. He's got elements that make him stronger, more weapons. There's boss fights, okay? Whether you like the boss fights or not, there's boss fights. There's also raids and things like that, like in HZD, okay? Horizon Zero Dawn, where as you're taking the package from point A to point B, you have to fight these different camps that get in your way and try and stop you. And then, if you got a chance to watch the review, which was non-spoiler on Greg Miller's channel, I like Fran Marabella, who left IGN. He went independent recently.
Yes.
Right. Fran, I'm a big fan of Fran's.
Yeah, I like Fran. I think he's a good dude.
He's a good dude. He's a gamer. He plays games. He doesn't get any of the attitude or the nonsense in his opinion. And he says, listen, when you get towards the end of this game, it becomes Metal Gear Solid-ish. Okay. Now, what he means by that, you got to play it to find out, folks. I'm not here to fill that in.
But we are talking.
I was about to say, what's 50 different about this game?
It's 50 or 60
It's not
hours.
like Mass Effect. It's not like Borderlands.
You're walking around.
Not like Halo. Well,
narratively,
game mechanic in this game.
Cyber, here's the thing, right? This is something someone told me about 4 years ago on my podcast. Don't knock it till you try it, right? So, I mean, you can sit here and tell me it's a walking sim, and I'll agree with you to a certain point. But I'm pretty sure Fran, who is a crazy first-person shooter nut as far as games go, he's 60 hours in, and that was as of last Friday. Okay,
he's probably 100 hours easily.
He's 100 hours in. He would have been the first one to take that disc and break it in half or use it as a coaster. Okay, so what I'm saying is it's not for everybody. It's not. But it's not as easy as, it's 100 hours of walking around as Norman Reedus, a.k.a. Daryl, Merle's brother. No, it's not. Right? I mean, so getting back to Boom's point, this is not, if this thing got a 90 or even an 89, I'd be flirting with something's not right here, folks. But you got IGN gave it a 6.8. IGN gave Metal Gear Solid 5 a 10.
They did give Metal Gear Solid a 10,
so
yes.
You can't really say that in essence. I'm saying give it a shot. Now, if Cyber, you turn to me and you go, Mooch, this isn't my bag. Baby, I say to you, fine. I'm okay with that. I'm not going to sell you on it. But it's more than just a walking simulator. And yes, it's going to take 5 to 7 hours to start it up. But again, Outer Worlds right now, I'm 3 hours in. People told me, Mooch, have you gotten off the first planet yet? Well, no, I haven't. But does that mean I should stop? No, keep going. You got to get off the planet. So if I got to get off the planet, and that's 3-4 hours, I'm trying to do all the side quests, everything, right? Then you really can't, come down hard on something that says you got to play the first 4 or 5 hours to get started. A lot of games are like that these days. And that's where things are a little bit different. This game doesn't remind me of anything else. Maybe when I get 6 hours in, I go, you know what? Cyber was right. This game reminds me of this, this, and this. I'm out. And I'm okay with that. But I just think that everybody's just immediately bashing it. And when you see these extremes, like the 3.5s and the 10 out of 10s, you take the 10s, take the 9.8s, take the 3.7s, get rid of them. Don't even talk about them. Look at the meat and potatoes. Look at the middle where they actually have some actual meat to the article. And I never say this, but check out the Kind of Funny Games review of it because I don't really care for Greg's opinion on it, but I really liked Fran's and I really enjoyed Tim Geddes, believe it or not. He didn't like the game. He didn't like it. He stopped after 5 hours. So I like to hear those opinions. That's the meat and potatoes. So when we're just pulling at both ends here, guys, you're going to get the radicals on both sides, and you got to kind of eliminate that.
The problem, hold on, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
The problem is that the high end of things are saying it sucks. They're just giving it a high score. That's the issue with it.
You know what? Actually, we're please save that point because I really want you to go deep. I don't want you to kind of just offshoot as a question because you have something important to say. Okay. First of all, I have to thank Gotham Guy for the outstanding and ridiculous $20 super chat. He says Sea of Thieves, Crackdown 3, and State of Decay 2 are definitely not for everyone, yet they were criticized for their team. And this is for you, Mooch. Who's yelling? And of course, that is standard fare. And Raymond Morel. First of all, Raymond, thanks so much for being here. He drops outstanding $5 super chat. He says Death Stranding is abysmal. I found more enjoyment of banging my big toe in the corner of my bed frame. Review score 98 out of 100. Thank you for that. That is funny. Wilmy Hood, I have to get your opinion on this because we were talking pregame. And P.S. by the way, I just want everyone to know that we have just shattered last week's previous record with having 408 people watching this show live. That is the most in the history of me doing YouTube, which I just made 2 years on Sunday. So
that's awesome.
A big thank you to everyone that's here. I hope you're enjoying the show.
Handshakes all around.
Oh, yep. Yes. Well, thank you. And they're here to hear you guys. It's not just me. Trust me when I tell you, you guys bring it every week, and I really appreciate that. Wilmy, when you hear some of these when they start off a review with the game is not fun, it's mundane, it's boring, the loop is makes me not want to come back, but there's a story here, and and they're trying to tell you, listen, I get you can't listen, and again, I really do mean this. I'm not getting this game until it's $20. That's the bottom line. And then I'll give it the old college effort. I buy every Sony exclusive game. I've beaten almost all of them. I enjoy them. Everyone knows I've talked about it, so I'm blue in the face. But for God's sakes, when Kojima makes these games, and here's the thing, and I'm going to say something that's going to be controversial. A lot of people want to put Konami to the cross and burn it. And you know what? Let me tell you something. I take nothing away from what they did. They're a shitty company. But at the end of the day, you really have to ask yourself, was Konami really that evil, or was Kojima that out of control? That's the question, because you see now he comes out with this game, and I have a couple of quotes, and I'll talk about them. When the creator of the game says, I don't understand my game as of yet, maybe someday I'll get there, that tells me you have completely gone off the rails. Wilmy, what are your thoughts on Death Stranding and the industry possibly afraid to ruffle those Sony feathers, which in turn brings in revenue?
I think, and this is my opinion, and I'll probably get a lot of hate on it, but oh well, fuck it. There are so many people, man, that are talking trash about the game, but I've got it pre-ordered. I've always said I pre-ordered it day one. I'm going to stream it this weekend, as a matter of fact.
Nice work, Wilmer.
But the thing is, when Crackdown 3 came out, it didn't get very good scores, and there were a couple of people actually got death threats from other people on Twitter because they gave the game a great review. The Twitter community is, there's just so much toxicity, amongst the gaming community. And, some of these guys, I know they receive death threats, and, they try to dox them and all kinds of other crazy shit. And that may be a thing, but I don't think they're scared of Sony. I think they're scared of some of the other people online. But me personally, I can't give a really bad opinion of it because I haven't played it. I will on Friday. Mm-hmm. Come Friday, I'll let you know what I think about it. Every once in a while, I like to play a different type of game. I've played the hell out of Modern Warfare for the last week, so I'm due for a little change up. It may be great. Who knows?
Wilmy is now my southern counterpart. Wilmy is saying, right? He is literally saying the same exact thing. And listen, Wilmy, I got to agree with you. You're so on point. It's not funny, because that's the thing. And it's funny because, boom, it's funny. I don't know how many times your guests will do this for you, but, Philly Eagle, you mind me reading that one? It's about me.
Yes, please. By all means, read that
it.
super. It's a $10 super chat.
$10 from Philly Eagle. He says, you're moving the goalpost right now, Mooch. You can't use the not for everyone description only when it's your game. You have to be consistent or be deemed fraudulent. Well, Philly, I'm glad you brought your badge tonight. Okay? Listen, you're doing the same thing in that super chat because you feel the opposite of me. So you're moving your posts in a different direction. So my opinion and also Wilmy's opinion, and I'm only grouping Wilmy right now because we said the same thing, is that, you got to at least understand that we get to a point, and boom, back me here on just our, you've been gaming for so long.
Yes.
And you've got to at least kind of have that urge, like, to say, is this game different? Is something finally different? I'm not saying it's great. I'm not. I'm just saying I can't comment on it myself. Like this show, next week, different story, right? After we all get a chance to either play it or see more of it or hear an opinion from a friend. Not a channel or not a media outlet. So things are going to change. People are going to have these opinions. And that's not fair, to be honest with you. It's truly not fair to say because somebody has a change of opinion or maybe opens up their eyes to different types of genres to say that all of a sudden they're changing their goalposts. That's not the truth. I mean, I spent, about 15 hours this weekend playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And I don't even mean I beat the single player. And I went on and played another 15 hours of the multiplayer. That's old school mooch. That's what I played so much in the 360 era and early this generation. I like Call of Duty. Always loved the multiplayer. So it's not that I'm changing. It's just that you say, you know what? I'm not changing. Pardon me. I am changing. What I'm saying is I'm not changing for no reason. You just get to a point where you're like, when someone says, I go, hey, what's the game like? What are you hearing? And Boom says to me, it's a lot like Mass Effect, or it's a lot like this game, or it's a lot like that game. And it's like, okay, so that I've been there, done that. And it doesn't mean I'm not excited about games upcoming like that, but I'm more intrigued. And intrigued is the key word here. I'm more intrigued to try a game I haven't experienced at this point in time in my life. So to Philly, if you could please put your badge away. And, you really can't call fraudulent when it's someone's opinion. Okay. And that's the problem here is, and that's why I said, when we're talking about reviews, throw both ends of the spectrum out and get down to the meat and potatoes in the middle. And Wilmy, you go ahead and take the mic again. I just thought you did a great piece there.
Well, thank you. But, the thing is, and it's like Mooch said, there's crazy fuckers on both sides of this spectrum. Excuse the French. You've got people that are out here. You're holding up pom-poms for Xbox. You're holding up pom-poms for PlayStation. Doesn't even matter. I mean, I'm looking for something different to play. And kind of like Boom, we're both older gamers. I've been gaming since the 70s. Boom's been gaming since 1830, I think. Right, Boom? but I just, every once in a while, you want to play something different. And I'm going to give it a shot. I mean, hell, what do you got to lose? It's a game. It's not like you're buying a car, a home down in Florida.
No, it's true.
Coast.
No, you make a lot of point. I mean, you make a lot of sense. Both you and Mooch really, really nailed it. You guys have your opinions. You're absolutely entitled to them. I was actually going to call on, of course, Forte, because I love his opinion. He dropped out, and I'll wait for him to come back in. Tempest Son, let's go to you, because I know that Cybernox is also chomping at the bit here, but let's go to you. Listen, there is a difference. Now, here's the thing. You talk to a lot of gamers, and they'll tell you Metal Gear Solid 5 was the worst outing. I put almost 100 hours into that game, could not stop playing it, loved every minute of it. Again, not every game is for every gamer. Now, I have watched probably around 6 hours, maybe 8 hours of footage of Death Stranding. I have seen clunky controls. I've seen ladders coming out of asses. I've seen babies falling, get knocked off, kicked around like a soccer ball. I've seen guys with electric sticks going to very awkwardly shock the hell out of you. And I'm not. First of all, we have to understand something. The game is gorgeous. There is no denying that it might be the best graphics on the PlayStation 4. No one's denying that. But the question is the industry damage controlling this game for the sake of it being a PlayStation 4 exclusive, but more importantly, a Kojima game?
Maybe not for that reason. They're damage controlling because they're such fans of Kojima. Yeah, I don't think anybody can objectively look at okay, listen. Okay, as a father who's had 3 children, okay, when they're babies, you can be sleeping and they'll just wake up and rah, rah. I was watching Giant Bomb try to show this game off. If you die, your controller sits there and starts screaming at you because the baby's unhappy. Okay. Like, this game is a mess. I heard that and I was like, nope. I was like, this game is a mess. You watch that video. If you want to watch anything, try to watch 2 people try to show this game off because they had like 20 minutes of it. It's Jeff Gerstmann and I forget who else was there with them. They tried to show this thing off and it is a mess. I mean, that video is getting around. A lot of people have seen it, but go to Giant Bomb and watch this video if you haven't. The only thing I can think of is it's damning. Honestly, it looks awful. And I know it's like, don't knock it till you try it, but why would I subject my wallet to have not just a walking simulator with a great narrative, a walking simulator where I have to balance holding left or L1 and R1, or else I'll trip and lose all my cargo. People are saying that this game, it takes like 20, 30 minutes sometimes to make one delivery. Could you imagine tripping over a pebble and watching all your stuff scatter all over the place? Like, that's just the gameplay of it. People are saying it has a great story, and you won't really know until you do the deep dive and get in there. But is it really worth it? I mean, what Mooch was saying, I agree. You got to look at the meat and potatoes, and I cut in and said, but listen, the meat and potatoes even on the high spectrum, they're telling you it's a boring experience. They're literally saying it's monotonous. It's the fetch quest. It's all the wrong things about an MMO. It's all the stuff nobody wants to do, but they do it anyway. And then I don't know. Your thoughts can go in a million different directions when you think about this game. But yeah, it's pretty, but it's also lifeless. What is one of the main critiques Gears of War 5 got when you're on the skiff? They say it's lifeless.
There's not much to do. Right.
There's not much to do. Well, from what I'm hearing, even from the good reviews that are giving this thing a 9.5 perfect 10 score, is that it's boring. I hear there's barely any background music. If you actually just watch video of the traversal, it looks pretty, but the animations are janky. Like, they are really janky, like early generation, this generation, or late last generation animations. They look terrible. They just really do. I mean, these reviews, I think they're almost insulting. I mean, you're literally, they're telling us, listen, this game's horrible, but you should still play it. You should spend your $60, $64, whatever, and you should play this. And to me, I just think it's terrible. I mean, you might think it's their opinion. They might have actually liked it, maybe, but who really knows? Because it's hard to read a review saying it's bad, but it's so good you have to play it.
Tempest, can I ask a question? Tempest, did you play Journey?
No, I didn't play Journey.
Okay,
No.
well, Journey is the epitome of a walking simulator, and I also don't think it's fun. I mean, it's so if you fell asleep or somebody hit you with a tranquilizer dart, and you just held the left button, your left analog button to the left, and you just passed out completely, you would have platinumed the game. But hear me out. It got a 9 out of 10, and somebody somewhere, I'm sure, said it's not fun. That's the thing, using that used to be a joke we used to use all the time back on the day, and the show Boom will tell you was hashtag fun. I think he even uses it a lot
I do. I love
right?
hashtag fun.
Hashtag fun is it's a fantastic hashtag, and I'll tell you why. The word fun, Tempest, holds a different meaning for every different human being. Okay. The people who were describing Journey on IGN, man, you would have thought they were talking about a trip to the friggin', out of the World Series. It was great.
Yeah.
And for most of us, it was a coma.
Yeah.
So, right.
Well,
So you really can't. So when someone says this game isn't fun, now we can critique the fact that they said it wasn't fun and they gave it an 85. But again, certain people look at things differently. Like certain people would say to you, oh, when you went to go see a particular movie that was about an awful time in history, when you left the theater, if somebody put a microphone in your face and said, did you have a lot of fun in there? You'd be like, not really. It was actually devastating. Okay. But you still enjoyed the movie. You can still enjoy the game and maybe not jump out of your seat. I don't know. I would never use that. Okay. If I say hashtag fun, I mean hashtag fun. Good times.
I got something for you then, because you love your food, you love your restaurants.
Love food.
I got a
food analogy is great.
Food analogy.
Yes, please.
A moosh analogy.
Yes. A moochism. Okay. Let's imagine that your job, you get paid to review restaurants. You get paid to review the experience. You go to this new restaurant that just opened. You got mashed potatoes and a steak, a filet mignon. Okay. So let's say you went there, you had your meal, and when you go to write your review, it goes something like this. Well, there was tons of gristle on the side. It was well done. I asked for medium rare. Also, there was tons of fat in it. It had no flavor. They didn't season it. The mashed potatoes still had skin on it.
Right.
But the bread they gave me before I ate my meal was delicious. 9.5 out of 10. I recommend you go.
Right. And that could have also been the maitre d' greeted me properly, took my coat, gave me my gave me my number. My server was absolutely amazing. But this is what I'm trying to say to you. See, you're judging it on the grizzle and maybe too much pepper. Okay, that's fine.
It's part of
you
the
said
meal.
it, but you said it in the review. So if I'm reading the review, apparently I'm not going to order a steak there. But if you're telling me that everything, but if you're telling, hear me out. But if you're hearing me about, if the rest of the, if the ambiance and everything else was amazing, something like Boom said, or maybe it was Shady said it. Some people are so stuck in their ways, they'll still go to that same place, even if the food's okay, but the service is amazing, and you can reverse that.
But it's a new restaurant that just opened. This is your first meal there. This is your first impression. This is a new studio from Kojima. This is his first outing out of Konami.
But that's the thing, though. That's the thing, Tempest. This is Kojima. Metal Gear Solid 5, people who played that game will tell you that after the first 2-hour cutscene of the beginning of that, it was like, what the hell's going on in this game?
Oh,
right?
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, there you go. There's Boom. But a lot of people in the community will tell you they got lost after that. So that's what I'm saying, Tempest. It's not just the one specific. People are taking the walking simulator part, which don't get me wrong, I'm kind of with you. Seems a little boring. But I'm hoping the ambiance, which is the amazing acting, the unbelievable cutscenes, the fighting in between with the different I'll call them the raiders, or different names for that you have to fight along the way, plus the boss fights, plus the RPG elements, all of that encompasses and builds up the lackluster, aka boring part that you're describing. So that's what I'm saying. And that there in itself, Tempest, is what makes it not a 7.0, but also keeps it from being a 9.0. And that's why I think an 8.4, 8.5 may be right where this game belongs. I don't know yet.
I think what people are forgetting, and this is, you can't argue this because this isn't the bad reviews, the good reviews. You're talking about anywhere from like a 30 to, depending on how much side stuff you put yourself through, 50, 60-hour game. Mm-hmm. That is a lot of time, a lot of investment. That is a big time sink just to get to the story. And at the end of the day, a story is subjective. I can tell you in a review that the story is great. It might be great for me, but am I going to make this individual? If I say
that's my point, Tempest. You've got Boombastic, so you're going to Boombastic that's got 350 hours into Assassin's Creed Odyssey. You know what I've got? A minute and a half. Like I can't stand it. Like, but that's so the story that he's into, to me, feels like a whole nother Assassin's Creed again. It seems like a
Okay, but
snooze fest,
Assassin's Creed
but
Odyssey,
it's
I
not
will
for
fight
him.
you. Assassin's Creed Odyssey instantly greets you with good game mechanics immediately. I feel.
Well,
Yeah, I would
nobody's
agree.
complained. Nobody's complained about the game mechanics in this game that I've read thus far.
Oh no, dude. Just let me
What?
ask you: have you seen Giant Bomb's video with Jeff Gerstmann and
No,
his?
I did not.
And it was very, very janky, very difficult to control,
Just-
sloppy controls. I've heard actually some people say.
I didn't hear that when I was listening to the Fran review.
Okay, listen, Fran. I mean, you see, he left IGN. He's on, but he is on Kind of Funny right now. And I hate to pigeonhole people, but Kind of Funny, most of
their
them
their
are,
PlayStation brand.
Yeah.
they are going to fight for their brand, just like I don't.
No,
think
I mean Tim
people are
Geddes is
afraid-
a co-owner there, and he said he stopped after 4.5 hours, 5 hours. So I mean,
That's
that's what I'm saying. It doesn't hold water. And Fran got there like 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like it's. I'm just my
Okay.
point is that like listen, Jeff Gerstmann also made fun of Quantum Break, right? Did you like Quantum Break?
It's okay. Yeah.
Okay, so Jeff Gerstmann for you should be eliminated, right? I mean, that's my point. Like, it doesn't make
No.
any sense.
No,
so, like,
I know, but-
I've heard the game's mechanics aren't bad. The shooting mechanics aren't bad. The boss
See, I've
battles are pretty good.
I've heard the.
That's what's
absolute
keeping me
opposite.
kind of in the loop.
No, dude. Just, I mean, okay. If you don't listen to Jeff Gertzmann's words, watch the video.
I will. I'll check it out after the show.
Just
yeah.
watch it. And if you just watch it and you compare it to anything that's came out in the last 5 freaking years, it just, I mean, I don't understand it, how they can make it look so pretty, but just totally pull you out of the experience because it looks janky. He's riding a motorcycle, and depending on what rock he hits, it doesn't look like the bike has a suspension. It looks like the bike just like shifts right or shifts red. It's like it just looks bad, dude.
It kind of looks like it's floating.
I thought
Yeah.
it looked like
Yes.
I thought it was floating. That's
You know what?
I thought when I saw it,
Let me just kind of just reel this back in. Tempest,
Yeah.
why don't you do anything else in closing? Because I want to get Cyberknock's opinion. We got to get Shady's opinion.
No, I just think at the end of the day, it is a number on Metacritic. But listen, they're journalists. They have a job to inform people whether the game is worth buying or not. And I'm sorry if you sit there and literally say the game's bad, but it's a 9.5.
Well, I think that's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you in that sense. I mean, listen, I would never write a review like that. You wouldn't write a review like that. But again, Tempest, you're saying you agree with me, but then you keep going back to it. You got to take the extremes out because the extremes are too loyal to either side.
And my point is the extremes are saying the exact same thing that the middle ground, the meat and potatoes, are saying. All of them say the game's boring. Every single one. Every single one.
They're not all saying that, but
A good portion of them
very
are.
good portion of them.
Yeah,
Very
I
good
would have
portion.
to agree. And I read about 40 of the reviews, and every one of those 40 reviews that I read, it's methodical. It's grindy.
But there was also a large percentage of people that said Red Dead Redemption 2 was boring.
Well, I hate
Do you
to
see
say
what
it,
I'm
but
saying? Like, you guys are not. I guess.
No,
the
I
thing
get what you're
nobody,
saying.
nobody here is wrong. Nobody, zero.
No,
My only thing is that,
I definitely get you, dude. There's
we're
no doubt
sitting
about
here
it.
and we're talking about somebody you've never met, someone you've never listened to. You know what I mean? Someone you really like. They're going to tell you it's boring. That's fine, but like I thought Red Dead Redemption 2 was great, and a lot of people told me it was boring.
Wow.
And so it's like I mean, do you see where I'm going with this?
No, I definitely do. But listen, let me just move on to Cyberknocks. But before I do, I have to catch up on these super chats because they are dropping like it's crazy, and I have to make sure I thank everybody. First of all, The Cure drops a $10 super chat. He says, "Great show, Boom. I want a third-party survival horror game set in the Halo universe where you were a normal Marine having to fight off the flood. Dead Space meets Halo. Sounds great." And listen, I'm going to say this. The Cure is a new content creator, and I'm pushing this kid because he put out a video the other day about Xbox I thought was fantastic. No bias, no one-sided, no flag flying. Go check this dude out, give him a sub, and you tell him that Boom sent you because I think we got a rising star here. And of course, I have to thank LMNOP again for this generosity, just outrageous. He said, "If you're trying to sell me on the game, sell me on the game. I can't just play me and find out." And I agree with that. I mean, it's just I'm not going to spend $60 if they had their own real Game Pass and not the fake one that they have. currently, I would jump on that because I'd be able to play it. And of course, let me see. I'm trying to get Enrique from the. I missed it. Enrique drops a $5 super chat. Enrique, thank you so much for dropping it. If you just message me in the chat, I'll read your question. Noof Nukem, boom boom in the room. What's up, dude? Thanks for being here. He drops a $5 super chat. He says Crackdown 3 and Sea of Thieves trashed for shallow story. With fun gameplay, Death Stranding deep story but shallow gameplay gets praised. Why is that? Great point. Got to ask the question. And Artie M drops a $2 super chat. He says, congratulations on the 500 live viewers. Monday is great now. I still can't believe we have that many viewers. That is ridiculous, by the way. And of course, there was another one, and it was Rain G4. Dude, thank you so much for being here. He is always in the chat. Big supporter of the channel. Thank you for the outstanding super chat. He says the same people said Red Dead 2 was boring. And let's see. And And Wilmy Hood, who is on the panel. Once again, the generosity, dude. It is absolutely unnecessary to be that generous. A $50 super chat. He says, I just wanted Boom to stop and read. Well, thank you so much, dude. First of all, thanks for being here. More importantly, wow, dude, that's crazy generous. Thank you. And you certainly don't need to do that, but I truly appreciate it. Cybernox, here's the thing, dude. We've heard a lot of opinions about this game, some good, some bad. Me personally, I have to say, look, the old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? We know about that. And at the same time, like Mooch said, well, it's something different. It's not the same Mass Effect that's like this, that, and the third. I got to tell you, everything that people have complained about this game is there. It's true. Okay. The janky controls, the outrageous story that you cannot figure out for the life of you unless you put a book in front of you, you open up 3 windows and you're watching multiple videos while still trying to play this game. It seems confusing as hell. And again, am I going to play it? Absolutely, when it's $20. Or, of course, if they ever make a Game Pass where games drop day and date, I would have been playing this on Friday because I wouldn't have to pay for it, because I will gladly sign up for a Nintendo service, a PlayStation service, the same way I've signed up with Xbox Game Pass. But they're not getting my money because I'm sorry. I just think that the people making excuses for this game, and I'm not saying that's anybody in the chat, anybody in the panel. What I'm saying is that you cannot tell your freaking audience a month before your game is released that, oh, I don't know what this game really is, but one day I will figure that out. You cannot say that to your fan base. And real quick, before I get your answer, Fork Boy Gaming with the ridiculous $50 super chat. He says maybe it wasn't smoke, but it was steam that was so heavy it looked like smoke. Then someone said it was smoke, and now everyone thinks it's smoke. Dude, I don't know. And of course, Brap, my very good friend, all the way from Washington State, drops another $5 super chat. He says Kojima did what he set out to do: create a thought-provoking game. Look at what's going on in the community. The game will be a cult classic. Yeah, I agree. Everyone is talking about it. But Cybernox and Shady, I'm going to get to you because I know you have a lot to say. What is your opinion on this either artsy-fartsy game that everyone's going to love eventually, or this walking simulator trash box?
Listen, I'm going to start off with what Patrick Morgan asked us way before back there. I'm most excited for the initiative, and I hope they don't come out with something like Death Stranding. That's the only thing I hope for. Just come out with something new. But let me tell you something. You know what really wrinkles my balls? The shit that's going on right now with Death Stranding. Are you kidding me? These reviews are absolutely crazy. Just for 1 second, read the review and then think for yourself, what score do you think that person gave it? Just like the first headline, just kind of what you stated to her earlier. Oh, this game is not fun. It's janky. Is this? And it's getting 9 out of 10s, 10 out of 10s. And Mooch, I'm glad you brought up Quantum Break. You want to talk about innovation? You want to talk about being innovative? They try to incorporate a TV show along with the game. And what happened? Everybody got on Quantum Break for that. Right? A lot of people didn't like it. That was a new IP in my opinion. You know? But what else I was gonna say? Oh yeah, if you're looking at the game mechanics, you're exploring the open world. It's a walking simulator. Mooch, I've heard you say that you don't like there's too much micromanagement on games, kind of like State of Decay. This game is built on micromanagement. The whole thing, the backpack, they tell you this. Fast travel, I saw it was on that IGN review. I think that IGN review that gave it a 6.8 was the realest review out of all of them. You can read the review, you can see what the guy was talking about, and it matched, his review to what he was displaying on screen to what the score was, 6.8. And now this game is sitting at an 84. Now, obviously, the reviews, the scores, everything is subjective, right? But the micromanaging, all the cutscenes, for you to fast travel in this game, you have to travel back to one of your bases. You have to see a cutscene. And then after that cutscene, you have to do another action. Then you see another cutscene. And then you see another cutscene. And then you finally fast travel. Like, I just don't understand. I think, listen, there are games that do exactly what this game does right now. Red Dead Redemption, you can explore that world, kind of like what you said. You can explore that world. You can go hunting and just bring shit back to your camp. Same concept, if you think about it. The fast travel there. You're on your camp. You can fast travel to certain locations. I just feel that there were a lot of reviewers out there trying not to get blacklisted by Kojima. They put this out there. They specify in the review. They try to put everything, try to make a very comprehensive review. But their score that they're giving it does not correlate to what they're saying on paper. That's what I don't understand. They're treating this game nothing like they would treat any other game.
I want to add to what Cyber is saying. There are some big time YouTubers that did not get review codes. They just didn't get them. They said they were out. So, how do you run out of review codes? So
look at two of the people that didn't get review codes. Colin Moriarty. Oh, P.S. By the way, one of the biggest PlayStation guys. His, I think it's called something square, sacred squares or sacred circles. I think it's called
sacred symbols.
Symbols. Okay, yeah. I watched the show. I don't even know the freaking name of it, and they, for some reason, they got blackballed, and I have no idea why. And I love Colin. Hell, I was a Patreon supporter when he left Kind of Funny day one, and have been for years. I love Colin, and he didn't get one. So
yeah, and listen, it's not just like us, the hardcore. Listen, did you guys read that tweet that somebody tweeted to Corey Borlov, and here was like, "Hey, I wish this came out to PC."
Yes.
And then he was just like, so do I, but that's above my pay grade. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but as you can tell, I'm no Kojima. Like, there's a little bit of struggle there. I don't understand. I think there was another I think Neil Druckmann and Corey tweeted something else at them too, but it was like all a little bit of fun. But let me tell you something. When people are over here throwing like some of these main directors and studio heads throwing some fun shades at this game as well, like, there's something there to be said. Like, if you look at The Last of Us and if you look at the latest God of War, these guys bust their ass. Like, their vision, those are, to me, those are masterpieces. And then you have this other game here that's doing all these things that people are saying, oh no, it's not fun. It's very janky. It's this. It's more of a movie. For crying out loud, the end cutscene, it's 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And then as everybody's calling it, this is the best game ever, the most perfect reviews for a game. Like, how do you think they're gonna feel? Sure, they're all on the same team, but they're doing something completely different than what Kojima's does, and doing something, in my opinion, better than what he did. Of course they're gonna feel that. And to use Moochism here, let's say you have two chefs, Mooch. You have your chef. He's been preparing this meal for quite some time. Amazing. He knows what to do. Then here comes this new chef to your team. Put something together. The food critic comes over. He eats yours. He thinks yours is all. He eats yours is great. But then he eats the new chef's food, and he's like, it was a bit burnt, undercooked. But you know what? I like what you did here on your plating.
It's a little strange. It's different than what I saw in the last restaurant.
Like
you get
plating.
a 10.
Yeah, I'm not sure I like this food. I don't sure I like the way the taste, but you know what? I'm gonna record yours 5 stars right here.
I think the thing
Come
is
on,
Cyber is this, and I sat back, listened to everything you guys got to say. I just think after doing this for so many years, you sit back, you listen to it. The game's not for you.
Oh, 100%. I'm not. Listen, I'm not saying. Listen, I'm not saying. I want to be perfectly clear. I'm not knocking anything like on the game yet, because obviously, like what Mooch said, right? Don't knock it till you try it.
That's all I'm saying. It's kind of like that.
100%.
I waited to see how Outer Worlds was going to be until I played it.
But
right?
these reviewers, then they have to put a freaking disclaimer or something, because the scores that they're giving this game does not.
I don't think an 84 or 85.
No, I'm not talking about the Metacritic.
They're talking about the people that give it 100.
Listen,
yeah, but guys, that's the extreme.
I love State of Decay. State of Decay, I love that game. You may hate it. Everybody on this panel may hate it, but I love State of Decay.
But I have the same story, so we're on the same page. Like you just said, Crackdown got a 60. I beat it. I loved it.
Yeah, but everybody. But what did everybody write about Crackdown?
It was terrible. That's what I'm trying to say to you.
Yes, but so whoever wrote that review about Crackdown made sense with the score. Nobody wrote down Crackdown isn't fun. It's not for everybody.
Yes, they did.
But then
there was people who said Crackdown's not
didn't
fun.
Give it
it's
a 90?
Terrible.
Did they give that game a 90 or 80?
I'm sure there was a couple on the Xbox Extreme. There's Xbox people writing to, like, Boom's quote came from PlayStation Magazine.
But that wasn't the only one. I understand.
But most of them are all like that. They're all the ones that are the
GameSpot. GameSpot gave it a 9 out of 10.
They're the only one that I saw that was a big conglomerate that gave it a big number. The rest were all in the 80s or 70s. Like
IGN US was the only one that gave it a 6.8. All the other ones were above 9s.
Right. Well, I don't know. Well, if they're all above 9s, they wouldn't be sitting at an 84, 85.
Yeah, I think the point is, if you were to pull up 3 different reviews right now on Metacritic, just pull them up, click the link, and you were to take your hand, cover up the top or cover up the score, whatever, and you were to read all 3 reviews, they would almost look like copy pastas. Like they would look so similar. What they're saying, the difference is with this game, one of them might be an 80, but one of them is going to be 100, or one of them might be a 70. One of them is going to be like 100. It just doesn't make any sense. They're all saying the same crap, but his game is getting random 95s and 100s. Meanwhile, it's also getting 70s. It's almost like there's no middle ground there.
600s or 700s for Gears 5 too. Like
I think I am for 100 for Gears 5.
I'm not talking about the score.
And then they're high 90s, whatever. I mean, high 90s, 100. I'm telling you, whether it's Gears 5 or Death Stranding, you throw that out.
That's true, but that's not my point. My point is they're all saying the same thing. If you look at a 70s rated Gears 5,
7, I guess that's.
Yeah, well, that's my point. If you were to read the Game Informer review, it's probably going to sound a lot like the PlayStation Life review that got a 9.5. The difference is, I'm not saying forget the score.
Right.
They're saying the same damn thing. If you were to go to another game, one game gets like Gears 5 was it's just more Gears.
Right.
They in the review you can tell they're being negative to it, and you see a negative score. But when you see a positive score, the actual score, you can tell it in the review that they're more about the game. They like it more. It sounds like some of these higher rated reviews, it sounds like they hate the game, but they give it a good score.
That's a great point.
I am really curious, man, to see how you're going to like this game. I
might actually despise it.
Oh, for sure.
I have absolutely no idea. All I'm saying is that if I see a new IP come out and it sits at an 84, 85, I go, okay, so it's got ups and downs. Now, and don't forget, if you go back to the first Uncharted, okay, Uncharted 2 is what put Uncharted on the map, not the first one.
Right. That's correct.
Right? The first one was what? Let's use your guys' words. The controls were janky. And
shooting was horrendous.
Right? The shooting was terrible.
Yes.
The character models were at best. Right? These are the things you're saying about this game.
Yeah,
or they are. My point is that this is rounded enough that it sits at an 84, 85. And that could fluctuate. It could be an 83. Could go up to, it could stay at 85. I don't think it'll go above 85. So I think you're looking between 83 and 85. You guys can, I understand what you're saying with the text, but whether someone tells you Crackdown 3 is not fun and then you enjoy it, or someone tells you it's boring and gave it an 87, what I'm saying to you guys is the game, you got to at least give it a shot, or you could just be like, I hate it, period.
Oh, yeah, everybody's got to judge that game by for themselves, 100%.
The 6 or 7 people that wrote, 9.5, the game's boring, but I can't wait to play it again later. I threw that one out before I saw them, but I threw it right out. PlayStation Magazine, I Heart PS, PS or Bust. Okay, that's who wrote these. You know what I mean? I break for Kojima.
I just want to see what's very unique about this game, because this game looks like it's a walking simulator. Obviously, there's a little bit more to it, but narratively, it reminds me of the Metal Gear Solid franchise.
And
even the characters, characters look just like it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So it's technically not something different.
Allow me to use
not something different.
If a chef leaves and he makes an amazing sauce and lasagna at one place and he goes to work for the competitor across the street, you go over there and go, boy, it tastes like the sauce from across the street. No kidding. It's the same cook. So you got the same guy, you know what I mean? And that's the whole thing. This is his work. That's what he does. You either like it or you don't.
Yeah, I just think there's an extreme movement.
It would be a 95 meta. It's an 84, 85.
I get what you're saying. You know what?
PS now, I try it.
The average, the means of mathematics here. If it's sitting at an 84, 85, there's plenty in the 70s and 60s, and then there's plenty ridiculousness at the high 80s and high 90s. I mean, that's where we're at. It's not rocket science. That's a median average. That's an average at best score. It's all you guys with the pitchforks and knives. If this thing was sitting at a 97, 95, I'd be like, what's going on? How can this be boring in a 95? 95 is Pulitzer.
Yeah. It's everyone's opinion is they're entitled to it. But you know what? I'm interested to hear the assassin that is a part of this program on a weekly basis, known as So Shady. Shady. I gotta hear your opinion, because to be honest, talking privately, you kind of came around, and I want you to explain why this is.
Yes, flip flop. So Shady is flip flop. I gotta say, man, I'm surprised even myself. I never really had a massive problem with this game. First of all, I want to say huge shout out to nearly 600
people watching.
My God, tuning in to hear my opinion on Death Stranding. I'm honored. Thank you. No, the biggest issue I had with this title, and most Sony titles, to be honest, is the absolute overhype involved. Huge overhype. Like it's the second coming of, gaming Jesus, and you all need to bow down to this thing. If you're not playing God of War, you're not a hardcore gamer. If you don't have Spider-Man, you're just missing greatness. All those things. Like it's a great game. Dare say an amazing Spider-Man game, but it's just a Spider-Man game. That's it. It was, again, mid-80s and stuff. But if you went by Twitter, if you went by the hype, if you went by the buzz of the zealots, this was it. This was like the reason to be playing a video game. Your grandma in her grave woke up from the dead because she heard Spider-Man was coming to the PS4 and it was exclusive. Like, I think the hype is what's hurting these games more than anything. I felt this game was mismarketed, man. We saw like 5 hours of weird, unjointed cutscenes and stuff before launch. It's not getting it done here. It's showing a bunch of sweet cutscenes. And then, to be honest, gameplay that is different than other games. This is a walking simulator, literally a FedEx simulator. You're delivering packages the entire game and avoiding a few, obstacles here and there along the way. But I think what makes it different is that every game truly isn't made for everybody, but many AAA games today, they try and make it as blanketed as humanly possible. We've got a little bit of something in here for every human being on the planet. They're desperate for your money. I applaud this game for being a gigantic budget AAA game that is truly the vision of one man alone. This dude was like unchallenged from what I hear. No one was like, I'm Kojima. That's a little bit weird. And if they did, he was like, get the hell out. So I mean, I applaud it in that space. It's unseen. We don't see AAA games of this caliber literally going as niche. I'm going to use that word niche. Everything in the world is niche, but water and fucking air, man. But you just don't see it focused on such a small group of people that might find it entertaining. Like, this is Kojima unhinged. This is the game slash movie.
This is definitely unshackled Kojima.
That's right. This is like what he wanted to do. And I think a big problem was he was going on and on and on about, I'm making a brand new genre, a Strand genre. I mean, that sounds ridiculous right out the gate. I do think he has created a new genre here, though, one that isn't necessarily based off of moment-to-moment bombastic fun. And I think the game has room for the people that are there for that like this sort of thing. It can be entertaining, not necessarily fun. It can be a grind, but at the end of the day, when each footstep is like actually gameplay, if you don't push the right bumper button while walking with that left foot, you're going to trip and you're going to spill your shit. I think that's half the reason the gameplay looks as janky as it does, is we're looking at guys that just aren't very good at playing games, or just this game in particular, play it. So it's janky because they're constantly tripping. They're constantly falling. They're trying to walk in areas of the environment that are hard. When you do your little scan, you've got green, which is just walk. It's all good. You won't trip on nothing. Then there's like orange and red, like different varieties. You go into the more serious ones, you need to be on that, like the mechanics to keep afloat. There's also 50 little things you can use. You can get like mechanical legs, exoskeletons to walk faster and keep your balance, but you can hold less, or you can hold more with different legs. There's a lot of depth to the moment-to-moment stepping. Your average walking simulator is just walk, take in the atmosphere, get the story, and you just walk. And that's totally fine. But are those fun? Is a Telltale game fun? I mean, what do you call it there? The Walking Dead got Game of the Year, Video Game of the Year a couple years ago. I'm going to assume it's fun. Let's be honest. It's like a janky as hell, third person, not so pretty looking. You just walk around and you're in conversations that are similar to Mass Effect. That's the whole game. That's it. It's not fun, I don't think. I think that's entertaining. That's entertainment. I just watched an incredible documentary on the rise and fall of the Third Reich. It's hard to say that was fun. It certainly wasn't a fun documentary. It was savage. It was disturbing. I don't know if I ever want to watch it again. I give it 10 out of 10 and highly recommend it. How the hell is that possible? I think it's the same here, where it is a slog. It is hard to get from point A to B. But from what I've heard from some gamers out there, one of them was Skill Up. I think he does a great job of explaining why the game was for him and why it's not going to be for everybody. And he broke down kind of the moment to moment, and there was zero spoilers, like almost to the point I think it hurt his review a little bit, because he was so afraid of giving you anything, the stuff that you could build with all of your that strand mechanic. No one's talked about the strand mechanic, where you can leave like a rope hanging off the cliff once you've climbed up it. And at the surface, it sounds weak. Like, who cares, right? When you get to an area and you've never been there, it's all empty. There's nothing. And as you get to these areas, you're opening up some network or whatever their lore is. You know, it's going to be batshit crazy. Some will love it. Some will hate it. I'm into it because of the sci-fi, and it looks insanely well produced. Like, it's just going to be fun to watch. Yeah. I'll be busting out the bowl of popcorn, smoking the bong, and just laughing off the silliness and taking in the awesomeness that's there, because he's poured his heart and soul into these scenes, it seems like. It doesn't have to make sense to me. I don't care. A lot of sci-fi doesn't. So there's that. But I think the gameplay is going to offer a lot of things for a lot of people that take the time to figure it out. It's certainly not bombastic. Like, I personally, I do enjoy getting lost in the environments of my games and just taking in their beauty. I play Anthem every day. My God, just for the dailies to get some in-game coins so I can buy the cosmetics, because I love the cosmetic game, man. But because it's gorgeous. I'm flying around slow and I'm checking out the waterfalls and the way the water splashes around.
So that definitely explains why Death Stranding might actually be for you, because there is the ability to look around.
That's right. And like, to get back to that, the actual stranding moment, like you can leave a rope. So the first time you go through, it's empty, and then you build up your network. And once it's built, like you open up that network, that's when the game starts to input what other players have been doing. So, for example, he gave an extreme example, which was a highway. And he's like, there's no way you alone have enough resources to ever build a highway. It's not happening. But if you start laying down resources in a certain spot, other players can come by and see that like it's been started. So they start dumping a little bit in there as well. And for all you know, like a couple hours down, you're coming through the same area again, delivering a different package. And suddenly there's a highway because, 50 people all chipped in a little bit of resources. And instead of having to trip all over all these stupid little rocks and stuff like that, you can just hop onto a bike because along with the highway, another bunch of people chipped in for like a garage that has motorcycles and stuff in it. Like it sounded pretty neat where it was just like all of a sudden these people that you'll never see, you never meet them, you never talk to them, but you start to see what's being built as a community. And that's kind of the message of the game is everything is separate. And if we work together, we can rebuild awesome things. And that's kind of humanity in a whole. Alone, we're weak, but together we're strong. And I think on some aspects, it's like really artsy and really up its own ass and whatnot. And that's fine. But I don't know, man. I'm kind of sold on it. Not enough to pick it up at launch. I'm going to grab it when it's a $20 ticket. Like that's got to be said too. I'm not in line for this on launch. I'll grab it when it's cheap. The price of an IMAX ticket. I hear the end cutscene is 2 hours anyway. So I'll, grab out that extra large bowl of popcorn for that bad boy. But I think I applaud it for doing something truly. I think it is different. It is different. Like another quick example, I'm looking at a couple of games right now in the Xbox store, and it's just a full motion video bundle. It's got, Late Shift, The Bunker, The Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker. These are literally filmed movies that every now and then you just get to choose go left or go right. And tell the guy to F himself or tell him cool, right? Like it's just a choose your own adventure movie. There's zero gameplay, but it's a game. It's being sold in the game store. I think that just video gaming today is expanded so big that there's room for experiences. And that's what I've been arguing a bit when this topic comes up for a long time is Telltale games, I think, are more of an experience than a true game. I understand that if I don't move the stick around, my character's not moving around. If I don't click on one of those decisions, one's not being made. I don't think that's a game. That's just me like changing channels on the TV. Is that a game now, changing channels? Because without me flicking the button, it ain't happening. No. So I think there's games. Usually they're fun. Sometimes they're frustrating as all hell. And the fun part comes from getting past that frustration. Look at the Souls series as an example. I think a lot of guys out there want to rip their hair out while they're actually playing it majority of the time. But when they beat that boss, all of a sudden they just personally won the Super Bowl of video games and they're fist pumping like there's no tomorrow. The feeling of overcoming anguish and anger and frustration is incredible. Like I love playing Forza, and the best times for me aren't when I'm just winning race after race after race. That gets boring. That's a time trial after time trial, really. I like when I lose like 6, 7, 8, 9 times in a row by just a little bit each time. Like, I can't believe I'm going in, and then right last second, the CPU blows past me. I want to kill somebody, but then the next race when I replay, and if I finally end up winning, it feels so much better. And that's kind of what was translated to me is that, yes, it's a slog, it's boring, but once you get where you're going and you drop off that package, the feeling of accomplishment, weirdly, is huge. They're just like, oh man, I can't believe you actually got here after, like, there's time rain in this game, which breaks all your shit down. So you have to avoid the time rain as well as maybe avoid or interact with the enemies that are there. It just seems like there's more here gameplay wise than what we've seen and been shown in all of the hours and hours of promo material. And even the people that are showing some of the gameplay footage, I think a lot of them are just not very good at playing the game, which is where this jank comes from. I did hear, though, from Lawrence at Inside Gaming that it's very animation-based, similar to Red Dead. So he was like, if I'm standing beside a cliff on my left, I will literally hold right on the controller. But because of the direction that, you know, the guy's facing, whatever, he'll walk off the cliff. It's like, it's just weird. He won't pivot like a video game character. Everything is kind of locked in a predetermined animation. I hear Rockstar games always described as you're leading the character, you're not controlling him. It's almost like you're pointing in the direction you want the guys to go, and you hope that the animation goes with it. And sometimes it doesn't. You're bumping into a rock even though you're trying not to, or you're walking off a cliff even though you're trying not to. Like, it's not a perfect title at all. There's definite issues. The fast travel is nuts. Here's
I
like
heard the
15
fast
minutes.
travel is actually broken.
Yeah, like you got to walk to your
the
base, so
fast-
that takes
exactly.
however long it's going to take to walk there. And then
Watch
there's not
a
only one,
cutscene.
but there's 3 cutscenes that you can
Yeah.
skip by pushing start, moving over, hitting skip, waiting for a second or two for the next one to load, rinse and repeat 3 times. Then it'll take you to where you can grab your skipping umbrella. Like, it's redundant to be redundant. There are issues with it. And I think that the damage control is not here on this one. This is why it's sitting at like an 84. I think the damage control, as far as Kojima games was concerned, came with Metal Gear. It was like 10s across the board, perfection, 10s. And it was not at all. It was great in some aspects and totally not in others. And I think that this game is a bit more realistic. And I think as a standard gamer, someone who just looks at games like they want that moment-to-moment action, the fun, I think IGN review is probably the best one that's going to resonate with you, because to me, it read like a gamer that was just looking to play like the new Star Wars game or the next Call of Duty or something that is sort of, I hate to use it, but kind of for the masses. Whereas like Skill Up, I consider the man one of the greatest reviewers on YouTube. He's so passionate. I resonate a lot with what he has to say, and he did a
Yang Ye
fantastic
also
job.
gave it high praise.
He did. I enjoy Young here and there. I think he rides too hard on the drama train myself, but I mean,
a little bit, yeah.
I thought Skill Up nailed it. Like, I was iffy on the game. It looked janky. It looked boring. I don't know about the story, yada yada. But I thought he just nailed it on saying like, hey, look, if you're a gamer, a longtime gamer, you like to play a bit of everything, I think you owe it to yourself to give this a shot. It is honestly different. And it can be very rewarding if you're willing to give it the time and learn its mechanics and just deal kind of with its tongue-in-cheek silliness, because it's everywhere, I guess. Like, you can't deny that. But I am interested when it comes down to a budget price, though. There's just too many games out there right now, and dropping like right around the corner.
Star Wars is next week. PS5.
That's right. Like, I mean, I'm gonna get into Stars before I ever got into Death Stranding, no matter what. But I am interested.
All I wanted to say, one more thing I wanted to say, boom, real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, jump right in. Get
because just go look at any other reviews for any other game. Doesn't matter the platform, and look at the verbiage that was used in this game, and you tell me what the score was for that game.
I see exactly what you're getting. You know what?
The verbiage is weird. Like, it's boring, 9.5, right?
Boring,
like, look at the Joker right now. It's the #1 R-rated money-making movie in history.
About to break $1 billion, by the way, without China.
Yeah, but like, so you talk to someone who just saw it. It's like, oh, what'd you think of the Joker? And they're like, oh, it was a really good movie. I think Joaquin should get, an Oscar nomination. Oh yeah, so how do you feel? Well, I kind of feel like shit. The movie made me feel like shit. It was depressing. There's no action. All of a sudden, it sounds like Damage Control. It's like, I thought it was great. What are you talking about? Like, it's slow? You're depressed after? How can it be a good movie that you're recommending? Because it's entertaining. It's not fun. Like a Marvel movie is fun most of the time. There can be some depressing entertainment. There can be some gruesome entertainment. I think it's a different form of entertainment. It's not a fun game, quote unquote, but I think there's a lot of room for entertainment to be had.
No, you're absolutely right. First of all, real quick, I just have to do a couple of thank yous for super chats that jumped in. And, listen, I knew that this topic was going to dominate the show. I did not realize it was going to dominate nearly almost a 2-hour show. So what I'm going to do is Blue Point Games is currently making 2 super secret PlayStation 5 launch titles. Okay. I'm going to bring these topics back around for Friday morning show. So because obviously it's almost the 10 o'clock hour, people got to get up for work. We've been here almost 2 hours, and everything I have written that we didn't get to, we're going to go deep on Friday morning. I will be making the announcement of what amazing guests I'm going to have. But let me just look at these super chats. First of all, I have to thank Basement Radio Arcade with the additional $2 super chat. He says, "Great take from the Sesh Empire." Thank you for that. We also have, Philly Eagle with the outstanding additional $5 super chat. He says, "Different is okay. Just use same metrics across the board when rating games. Simple. Changing the metric based on platform is unacceptable and fraudulent." And I would have to agree with him on that. I think that there's a lot of people making excuses for a game that's strange because it tells a story 20 hours after you started playing it. You start to understand it. But listen, again, we could be here another 2 hours. I just have to say this. First of all, I've only been doing YouTube for 2 years. And in the history of doing YouTube, not in my wildest imaginations could I have ever guessed that one of my produced shows was going to garner 630 people watching live. That's Crossfire numbers. That is dealer gaming numbers with RDX. I have to say from the bottom of my heart, that is, you guys have stunned me in a way. I'm probably not going to sleep tonight because I have to literally pinch myself to say that this actually happened. And I am thrilled to know that there are that many people in this community that want to hear the shows that I produce. You do not understand what that means to me as a person, as a gamer, and as a diehard fan of this community. So let's get to the outros, and I'm going to go to my guest first. First of all, Mooch, obviously having you on the show was a big deal for me because we're friends. We're friends outside of the podcasting business. We talk all the time. How's your family? What meatball sandwich have you had? You know, we do those kind of talks. You are a powerful voice in this community. You're on a ton of shows. Crossfire is as crazy as it's always been and getting crazier by the week. Big opinions, lots of it's Crossfire. It's called that for a reason.
That's right.
You have M&C Mornings, which is a continuing to grow. And listen, with your streaming, you might be the next Ninja. We don't know, but you have a big enough voice.
I'll let you know where I'm taking my talents next week.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no
stay
doubt about it. So
tuned.
do me a favor. Not that anyone needs to know that I have to tell them, because like I said, you're a big personality, but tell everyone where they can check out your other shows. But more importantly, subscribe to your channel, to your Mixer channel, and also talk to you on Twitter.
Appreciate that, Boom. It's been great being on the show. Great to see the audience come out tonight because that's what it's all about. Everybody getting their opinions out there. Me and Shady, actually, believe it or not, saying very similar things.
What?
Right? What?
You know, I know it's shocking to say, but we said very similar things. Different reactions, nonetheless. But still, I think that's great. I think right. But no, it's been awesome being on the show. And to be honest with you, I'm loving the streaming thing. You know, it's a way to play the games and actually interact with the audience. It's not just what we do on podcasts. It's a true joy to be able to play the game and see you guys react. Some of you have played the games I'm playing. Some of you say, I want to play the game that you're playing. I want to check it out. And a lot of questions go back and forth. The banter is fantastic. So it's the Mooch78 on twitch.tv. Do check me out there. And of course, it's the Mooch78 also on YouTube. Please go over, subscribe. We do Crossfire. We do M&C show on Sunday mornings. It's a lot of fun. And Boom, thanks again for having me. Great to hang out with Wilmy as well for the first time. Cybernox Tempest I've spoke to for years on Twitter. Good to finally hang out with them. And so Shady, of course, and as well as Gaming Forte, which is just a treat and a privilege to work with Gaming Forte. Probably one of the best guys in the community. If you're not following him, please do check him out on Twitter and YouTube. The man is nothing but positivity. So thanks again, Boom.
Well, thank you again, dude, for really being here. I truly appreciate it. And we definitely will have you back in the future. And of course, next up is Wilmy Hood. Now, Wilmy, besides your ridiculous generosity, I think that you have a real eye for gaming. You are an old dog like myself. You've been gaming a very long time. You've seen trends come and go. When you speak on the microphone, you can hear the passion, but you can also hear the history behind gaming and why you love it so much. You have a few things going on. I think more people should tune into your show. Not only that, but subscribe to your outstanding channel. Do me a favor, tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, check out your work on YouTube.
Oh, it's easy to find me, man. You can type in Wilmy Hood into Google and just about anything that pops up. It doesn't matter where it is. You can find me on Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. You can find me anywhere, YouTube. You can find me every Wednesday night at Gaming Beyond the Box at Wilmy Hood on YouTube. We do another podcast every 2 weeks. It's basically everything horror related. We talk about scary movies and the stuff that goes bump in the night, and we talk about collectibles because, Boom, I was told I'm worse than you with collectibles.
Yes, and that's saying a lot because I'm ridiculous.
I think I have everything. I've got big giant Billy tricycles in my game room. You know,
Very
the character
nice.
from Saw. I've got Annabelle, and she's sitting right beside Master Chief. Was kind of a
That
weird
is
mix up.
hilarious.
But I mean, I've been gaming, man, since the 70s. I think the
Yep.
first thing I gamed on was a ColecoVision, I think they were, and the awesome Apple IIc Plus. Remember those with the old green screens? But I've seen so many things come and go. I remember when gaming completely died.
Yes, 83 collapse.
Yeah, I mean, it just completely went away. And it wasn't just because of ET, like a lot of people thought, but I'm thrilled to see new games come out. And actually, I would love to see more new games come out. Death Stranding, I know it's not a popular opinion. I'm excited to play it Friday just because it is something new and something different. I'm kind of tired of the remasters and the remakes and, you know, bringing back some of the old stuff. I want to see new games, and that's really what I'm looking for. So hopefully Friday, I won't be disappointed. And I really agreed with Shady on his take on it because, I mean, we don't even know how deep this game is yet. We have no idea until we actually can sit down and play it.
Yes, that's correct.
But thanks for having me on. I've never been on the air with Mooch before or Shady. And I don't think anybody here on this panel except for Gaming Forte. We were on Salty's podcast together a couple of months back. But I've enjoyed it, man. And anytime you need me on, you just let me know. And I got to have you on our show one Wednesday.
Oh, absolutely. Night. There's no doubt about it. I'll be on your show whenever you need me, and you will definitely get an invite back. So, dude, thank you so much for being here, of course. And your generosity, again, is just ridiculous. It's unnecessary because you've done it so much, but I truly, truly, really appreciate that. Let's go to Tempest Sun. Dude, listen, first of all, thanks for being here with strep throat. P.S., if you folks tuned in late, he is suffering from strep throat. Obviously, strep throat and podcasting usually don't go hand in hand, but he thugged it out because he had some big opinions, which he dropped tonight. And I think that tonight, how you described everything tonight, I think that the snakeskin has been shed and the new version of Tempest Sun is out where it's going to be a little bit more salty. And I definitely appreciate that because you are a diehard gamer. In fact, you are a diehard gamer as well as your wife being a diehard gamer. And I'm sure that once the kids get old enough, they will be diehard gamers. But do me a favor, tell everyone they can follow you on Twitter, get some of this salt on salty opinions, as well as possibly being assassinated by you in all of the online shooters you play online.
Well, it was a pleasure meeting Wilmy and Mooch finally. Excuse me. Great to meet you guys. I had a lot of fun. You can find me at the Tempest Sun on Twitter. And, you know, we just spent an hour and a half, some of us kind of ripping on Death Stranding, but you know what? It's all opinions, man. And I really do mean this. If you're excited to play Death Stranding or any game for that matter, if you have that inkling to play it, do it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Get out there, get what you want to get. Take it from me. I told myself I wouldn't play this new Call of Duty because I played the beta and I hated it. Guess who played some Call of Duty recently?
That would be you.
Oh, let's go. Let's go. Call of Duty is phenomenal.
I did it again, but you know what? This time around, what actually got me hooked on it was the campaign. I haven't played a Call of Duty campaign in years. Played the campaign, man, and I went from hating the game, but if you really, really, really enjoy Michael Bay, you know what it reminded me is 13 Hours from Michael Bay. If you like that movie, I guarantee you're going to like this game. It's just it's a freaking Michael Bay movie is what it is. And still have problems with the multiplayer, but so take it from me. I told myself I wouldn't play that game. I played it, and I'm glad I did. The campaign's phenomenal. So if you want to play Death Stranding this Friday, man, just do it. You got to find out for yourself. That's the only way you can really tell at the end of the day. So just play games and have fun doing it.
Well, absolutely. Great. I mean, that's great advice. Again, not every game is for every gamer. And regardless of what flag you fly, there are still games for you to enjoy on all the consoles. And, of course, closing out tonight, Cybernox, dude, listen, dude, I love having you on. And if you didn't know, he has a newborn. And he's here every Monday because he loves gaming. And I can't thank you enough for for being here with us because I do appreciate what you have to say, and you do bring some great points like you did this evening. Please tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, check out your small but growing channel, because you do put out some quality content, and I think you need more subs. So go ahead and do that, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Boom. And I love being here every Monday. I just put the little guy to bed, and then I got to get up in a few hours. So works out perfectly. But I'm easy, man. You guys can find me on Twitter most of the times at Cybernox, on Xbox Live. If you're down to, play some games, just hit me up. Sometimes I'll be streaming on Twitch and Mixer at Cybernox as well. But it was a pleasure being here. I love starting of the week talking about games. Mooch, Wilmy Hood, my first time podcasting with you two gentlemen, and it's been a pleasure, man. It's been awesome. Like you said, it's good getting some opinions back and forth. Nobody's wrong. It's just everybody's opinions. Kind of like what Tempest said. If you're excited for Death Stranding, go ahead, pick it up. I'll be watching Mooch when he starts streaming it this Friday. I'm sure of it, So I can't
Appreciate
wait
that,
to
brother.
see. Yeah, of course. Can't wait to see that. And thanks to the chat. The chat was phenomenal. A lot of super chats. Boom, you deserve all the credit in the world. 600 plus, and the channel is just gonna keep growing, my friend. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Well, no, I thank you. I think everybody that's a regular panel member. Of course, Clowns couldn't be here. He has been under the weather with some severe health issues, and we of course wish him a speedy recovery. And of course, Gaming Forte, who's another. We're personal friends. We talk privately on a regular basis.
Yeah, shout out to
I'm
Forte.
gutted that he was having so much trouble with Comcast, because his opinion is usually big, and being that he works for GameStop, he could give us the highs and lows for what people are expecting with Death Stranding in regards to sales. And hopefully we can have him on Friday morning show if he's going to be available, so he can give us those opinions. But again, thank you guys for being here. The chat, you guys were unbelievably amazing tonight. Record-breaking night. We finished off at 628 watching live. Guys, the chat was on fire from start to finish. A lot of big opinions. You guys kept it pretty much legit, which, there was no nastiness. It seemed as if I was trying to read it, and it was going pretty quick. So great on you for being the good chat that you are. And of course, I cannot thank you guys enough for the outstanding generosity that you have shown me this evening. It is just unbelievable that you enjoy the program that much, that you want to give me your hard-earned money. And I cannot thank you enough, and I can assure you that money is going back into this channel forthwith. But once again, everyone, thank you for being here. Of course, I'm going to see everyone Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the newest episode of the Xbox Factor podcast, and then again Friday morning on Breakfast with Boom, where we are going to dive deep into every topic that we didn't get into. That includes Blue Point's 2 secret games, why an 84 was shit but now good because of Death Stranding, and of course I'm talking about Gears 5 being called trash and fodder because it was an 84, and if now that Death Stranding sitting at an 84 or 85, it's considered the greatest thing since sliced bread. We're going to break that down Friday morning. Once again, thanks everyone for being here.
You know what else we're going to do, Boom? We're going to have an encore outro, being me. For the love of all gaming gods, RNGesus. What is going on around here?
I can't believe it. I almost forgot Shady, the loudest one in the panel.
That's right.
Yeah, Shady, listen, dude. First of all, thanks for being here. And we missed you thoroughly when you were away for almost 6 weeks.
Yeah, glad Shady's back.
Yeah, and yes, I don't have my Steam Decks hooked up, so I would have played the Shady theme. Probably got copyrighted by that. But Shady, listen, do me a favor, dude. You're very outspoken. You really turned the corner on this game, which surprised everybody on the panel. Tell everyone where they can check you out on your other shows that you're on, as well as follow you on Twitter.
Of course, Boom, it's always a pleasure to be here. I'm grateful to you for bringing me into the community you've been building. It's growing week by week. Shout out to the 600 plus that listened in live, and the many hundreds, if not thousands, to listen here right quick. Thank you so much for coming out every week and listening to us talk games, man. Without you guys, it's just us chilling, talking games, which I'm totally down to do, but you make it way more #fun. I love it. Thank you for coming out, Boom. Thank you for inviting me to your shows every Monday, Primetime Gaming, and every Friday morning, Breakfast with Boom. Friday's coming up. That's where I'll be showing up next. Happy gaming, everybody. I hope I didn't rock the boat too much by saying, hey, look, man, I think the game might be for me. It just might, and it might be for you too. Look out for a sale price. It's not going to hurt anybody. It's not going to kick you in the dick when you turn it on. Shady out.
I love it. Well, listen, thanks again, Shady. Really appreciate that. And everyone, have a great night. And I just want to close out the show, which I always do. 2 things that my pop taught me. And of course, I hold him to the highest regard. 2 things. 1, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. And 2, treat others how you want to be treated. And I guarantee you're going to have a great day. Once again, have a great night, everyone. And thanks again.
Later, everybody.